Now, busy train journeys are often stressful enough, but even more so when you're with a baby. Now, our next guest knows this all too well, as she was recently forced to breastfeed her 13-month-old while sitting on a train floor.
Sophie Molineux was travelling from Shropshire at the time and was appalled not to be offered a seat. And Sophie joins us now alongside breastfeeding advocate Lottie Daley. Welcome to both of you.
Welcome to
both. So, Sophie, how did you end up sitting on the floor? Because it was kind of between the two carriages.
So we didn't really have much of a choice at all.
And what was the kind of demographic of the people on the train? Was it mostly kind of commuters? Was it kids? Was it...
Yeah, it was quite a mix because obviously it's the holidays, and in the priority seats there were teenagers, and it was kind of, we didn't feel like we could approach them.
Right.
So we kind of just ended up in the middle, but both sides of the train could see that we were sitting there, and they kind of just pretended that we weren't there.
So paint the picture. So you're with, you say you're with your boyfriend, Rob, that's
Yes.
right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Your little one.
Yeah.
You have a buggy.
Mm-hmm.
So it's clear that you could do with, you know, with a little help.
Yeah, definitely.
So then, obviously, so that you get on the train, you don't get offered a seat, unfortunately, you know, one of those things. But then you start breastfeeding, which is, you know, amazing. You know, every mother can relate to that. And then you're actually getting people physically walk past you and not wanting to make eye contact with you.
I can't believe that.
I just... Have we lost our manners?
Did anybody look at you? Were you
So
eyeballed?
as people were walking past me to go to the toilet and stuff, they acknowledged that I was there, but you could just see that they weren't.
They didn't know what to
give up
do
their
or what to
seat,
say.
and it was just kind of, it had gone past the point. I'd got on the train, they hadn't offered me the seat. I was then on the floor breastfeeding. It had gone past that point.
Lottie, is this something that you hear a lot of?
Well, it happened to me 3 weeks ago. Seriously, I was on my way to Sky News and I took my daughter, who's a little bit older than your little boy, and exactly the same thing happened. I got on the train. There was nowhere to sit. I had my buggy. I sat on a disgusting, horrible floor, and it's jiggling like that. And people are, you know, I sat there and I thought, well, being, you know, you're polite, aren't you? I'll just sit here and wait for someone to offer. And nobody did. And I didn't have teenagers on my train. It was all ages, all demographics, everything there. And I sat down and she was, you know, on, off, as they do when they get to a bit older. And nobody did it. And again, they walked past me and they, you know, and I kept thinking, someone's going to come at some point. And then people go, well, why didn't you ask? Well, the attitude to breastfeeding in this country is disgusting, especially when you've got an older baby. I mean, if you're breastfeeding at 1, oh my God, people think that you're some kind of pervert or you're a hippie or there's something wrong with you or you're doing it for yourself. And to be quite frank, now go on a rant now.
You rant away,
The
girl.
UK has a gargantuan shift if we want to change an attitude and the education and the uptake of breastfeeding. Healthcare professionals do not, across the board, across the UK, follow an official mandatory guideline on breastfeeding support.
So what should it be? What can people do?
Well, we can lobby the government to create this set of rules or document, or whatever it's called, legislation, that every single healthcare professional that comes into contact with a new mother must follow this specific steps, and we also need to have everybody doing it, and that will raise the education that you can breastfeed, which will in turn reduce the guilt that mothers feel when they can't do it. And they're never failed, they're failed by professionals, and that guilt is a heavy burden for the mother who wanted to breastfeed, and there's a lot of anger about that, which then in turn rubs off on our cultural perception of breastfeeding and creates this kind of a problem.
First of all, it's, you know, if... Luckily enough, I couldn't breastfeed my first, and I was desperate to be able to, and I couldn't.
Yeah.
But I think if you're lucky, it's the most natural thing.
You shouldn't be lucky. You should have been able to do it, and it's about timely, adequate support.
And support, I suppose,
but if that's not there, you create a whole narrative that women's boobs are broken, that we can't breastfeed.
Yeah.
That's not true.
It's so true. I've so been there. But why do you think our attitude is it because this is not the first time that that I know
it's
that I've even
boring
spoke
now,
to people
isn't
on
it?
this sofa that oh wow, they breastfed in public.
Oh, God.
What-
When I
why
had
are we
babies,
there?
you know, mine's about to turn 18 next month. I cannot believe that 18 years later, we're still talking
this is
about
You
it.
know why, though? It's because we sexualise women's breasts.
Yes.
If you've got your boobs out and you're like, yeah, here's some, I don't know, ketchup, here's a new car, that's OK. But, you know, people whine about getting, breastfeeding in public. Yeah. What do you think is going to happen when we're sat in a train carriageway, a train's jiggling, you've got a toddler, your boobs are going to come out. And trust me, we don't want our boobs out. Nobody does.
Yeah.
There isn't such an exhibitionist at all. It just doesn't happen.
How can we raise awareness, though? I mean, basically, it's about trying to raise public awareness as well.
Well, the problem is whenever we start to talk positively about breastfeeding, we get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of mothers saying, I couldn't, and then they perpetuate myths that had you had that timely, adequate support, more than likely you would have been able to do it. I would imagine, without knowing what actually went on, the likelihood is you probably would have been able to do it had you had the right support.
Yeah, totally.
If you don't, that's a whole other ball game.
But even if
It's
somebody
informed
couldn't,
choice.
it still doesn't mean that judging somebody for doing it is
right.
Is right.
Yeah,
like
That's internalised guilt, though, I think.
Sophie,
mothers.
what's the reaction been since your story's been out there in the press?
There's been a lot of positive of mothers, and then there's been the kind of, why didn't you ask people to get up? I had someone saying I should give him a bottle of formula and keep him in the pram. Not every baby will take a bottle of formula, and if I want to breastfeed, that's my choice.
and if a baby's solely breastfed, they won't have a bottle.
Why do you
We
need
just
formula
really
anyway?
need to
You've
get
got
to a
your own
place
milk.
where, as mothers, we all stop judging other mothers. That would be
right.
very, very nice. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.